So, Webster, I've been browsing the Supercars website, catching up on a bit of news.
Righto, what's the same up to?
Oh, no, I haven't heard from him. Howard's still in charge at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
They got all these top 10s and all sort of stuff. They got the top 10 crashes.
Mm-hmm.
They're still pretty salty.
Maybe they should get some tequila then. On this second and hopefully not last edition of the Supercar Insiders Touringcast, Will DJ Sierra's last, someone cops a furious George blast, the Datsuns are bloody fast, and is anyone actually listening to this podcast? Yes, welcome to the Touringcast. I'm the Warpster and with me are the sound engineer,
G'day.
and the DSO.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in internet land. Hey, are we missing the racing yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's even nothing on free to air. Hey, on the social media DSO, what the hell are you doing with your phone, sound engineer? Are you right there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So how about you get back on track?
It wouldn't be a podcast without the sound engineer being on his phone.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry that I got a text from work, mate.
Why, you're being called in?
Oh no, I'm being called off.
Oh, righto.
You're stuck with us now.
You're stuck with us. So, and your weekend pay rates have just diminished incredibly.
I said a call off. I didn't get fired.
Oh, right. Okay, so in a nutshell, we're back in the DeLorean, ladies and gentlemen, and in the Wayback Machine. We're heading for 1987, Warbster.
Yes, mullets are in, John Howard is out, and we're going Group A racing again.
Yep, 21st of June, and we're at a decidedly overcast day at Amaroo.
They're running up and down the hill for round 8 of the Australian Touring Car Championship.
Absolutely. So if those of you want to watch along at home and listen to our stunningly ordinary attempts at commentating the race.
I think the correct word is nonsense.
Sorry, that too. The race is on the Sevens Magic Moments of Motorsport Group A Classic Volume 1. But you can go to the 100 YouTube site and search for 1987 Amaroo ATCC. And that's where it'll come up. So
the YouTubers will basically just need to load and pause. The ones on the DVD will need to pause when Gricey's car appears at timestamp 5450 or after Peter Griffin goes through the grid.
Yes, aka Mike Raymond. So while you're hopefully sorting all that out, Warbster and I'll do a couple of little things in terms of some background. So 87 was the year Group A hit Generation 2. Gone were the days of adapting the best road car in your range. Rather, it was a case of building enough of the best you could engineer to be homologated, in theory.
Yes, the Europeans were a little bit dodgy when it comes to rules. But we're not in Europe.
No, that's the European way.
The two main protagonists in Australia were the Nissan Skyline RS Turbo and the Ford Sierra Cosworth.
So hang on, but just back to the Skyline R30.
R30.
R31.
No.
R30?
R30.
Yep.
The 4-cylinder,
Yep.
FJ20 ET.
Okay.
I'll leave it there. Ford Sierra Cosworth.
Nerd. You'll be drifting in a minute.
Ford Sierra Cosworth. I think we'll be drifting if we don't get back on track here.
Yeah, righto.
Ford Sierra Cosworth, not the RS500. That wasn't homologated yet.
Yep.
The Holden VL Commodore Group A, the last of the Peter Brock engineered cars. Mm-hmm. And the original A30 BMW M3.
And weren't they a great looking little shoebox?
They were indeed. The Bavarian murder weapons are being run by the legendary Frank Gardner's JPS team and are racing on their home track, Amaroo.
Yep. So Tony Longhurst and Ludwig Finauer are backing up Jim Richards, who's chasing the Touring Car Championship, and as the Warbster just said, on the team's home test track. they need to peg back points from the baby-faced assassin Glenn Seaton.
Seaton's in the Nissan Skyline RS Turbo, the first product of the Gibson-owned Nissan Motorsport team. In the absence of Volvo, they are the reigning champions. Nearly at the end of its development cycle after success in 86 with George Fury and Gary Scott, 87 would be its last year.
Yep, so last year with Fury and Seaton, before the R31 GTSR, as we saw last episode, would come in and take over. The Ford Sierra is in the middle of a development cycle. The Australian teams are still getting on top of it, led by Dick Johnson. Using European parts not suited to local conditions and learning all about turbo technology, you can't really say the locals were having much fun at that stage.
Their time will come though, and anyone who's a close student of the sport will know, as we said in the 1989 Winton edition, when their time comes, their time comes. Speaking of not fun, Holden is having a horrible year, as was regular during the Group A period.
So Larry Perkins and Alan Grice are being factory supported in the wake of who isn't, 11 and 14, and we're only 3 months after the infamous polariser split from Holden.
HDT is represented in name only, and combined with, let's be honest, unsuitable cars for sprint races, it's going to be a lean time for Team Red.
Absolutely.
The reorganisation begins about now. Tom Walkinshaw is brought in from England. He signs a deal, and the VL Commodore, which we saw in the last episode of the Warpster Cast, is a result of that. Touringcast. That's
all right. Alrighty. Hopefully you've got all of the back catalogue and the history. Those of you ready to watch and play along with us, hit play right about now.
Gricey in the VL Commodore, the Bob Jane car.
Here we go. Gricey with his Arai helmet, proudly sponsored by Yokohama and Valvoline.
Say what you want about Gricey, but he was very good at collecting personal sponsors.
Yep, absolutely.
There they all are on the dashboard.
Yeah, Channel 7, Chickadee Chicken, Roadways.
Valvoline, Yokohama.
Yep.
Bob Jane Team Arts.
Bob Jane, Bob's a big supporter. So here we go with a front row. The Datsuns flying to the front.
Nissan front row lockout, and boy do we miss those. Well, maybe just me.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the Kelly brothers miss Nissan front row lockouts too. Never had one.
Ludwig Finauer, aka Goofy, long time
hang on,
JPS engine man.
Hang on, pause you for a sec. Have a look at these grid girls. Aren't they tastefully attired?
Much more tastefully than the recent past.
Absolutely.
They're allowed to wear jumpers.
Yeah, it must have been cold.
They must be allowed to be comfortable.
Absolutely. And
Lycra and God knows what else.
No, the Peter Jackson girls were the queens of Lycra only a few short years later, Warbster, I can tell you right now.
Ludwig Finauer, Goofy, long-time JPS engine man, trying to help Richo and get signatures for his international license for Bathurst. Not sure how he's going to do that 5 places up the grid from Richo, but we'll see what happens. We didn't mention the Alfa Romeo before. There's a good reason for that. It'll only last about half a race.
Yep, there's Bondi. Clearing the grid. Obviously, they've blown the sign. I wonder if those 2 New South Wales coppers are in this telecast as well.
I'm loving this grid, how it's set out.
Oh, very, very much a condensed grid, isn't it, Minion?
Looks like George is wrenching on the gear lever there, just making sure she's in first.
Yep.
So we got Nissan on the front row, BMW and DJ.
And there they go. Didn't even see the flag. Couldn't see the flag. Up we go. Bitcher Pave Hill for the first time.
280p, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to be Nissan locking out the front 2 positions.
Trying to go 3 wide over the top of the crest as they roll on down to Dunlop Loop.
And Furious George is in front, which is not what they want, because they want Seaton in front.
No, not at all.
Followed by DJ pushing that little T3 as hard as it'll go.
Yeah, run through there to Mazda, what used to be Mazda Corner.
And then down to Honda. So they renamed all the corners since we did 1982.
Honda Corner now. No, that's still Honda Corner.
Oh, there goes Gary Scott.
Gary Scott's been turned around by JB.
Yep.
And how the field didn't hit him, I do not know.
How did all the spectators feel thinking that was Brocky?
Reverse gear works.
Also noticed that the mobile team had so little money they're actually running a VK there because the designated VL was sold to Alan Moffat and is the car that won the Monza WTCC round.
Very, very nice segue, Bobster.
And I'm going to call myself a nerd on that one.
And here we go. We've got Nissan putting a move on Nissan.
That's Sato going around the outside.
Absolutely hosed Farmer George there.
And I think he did that on purpose, and I don't think Dick Johnson liked it very much because there was a mobile roadblock in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Farmer George is driving that. Well, see, Dick should understand what it's like to have a teammate making the car 4 car widths wide, because that's all Bowie used to do.
That's true. It's actually Greg Hansford this year, so it's not quite Bowie yet. Bowie comes in next year.
No, but
LP down the inside of a JPS BMW, so that'd have to be Finauer.
Yep.
Who then gets caught on the outside. A couple of Holdens go by.
Gricey gobbles him up too.
Richo's already gained a couple of positions and is closing fast on his teammate.
Look at that great camera angle over the top of the track. The TV technology from 1987, second to none.
What we can see of it anyway.
You're lucky to have panning camera angles, all right?
I was going to say, they used to film this with about 6 cameras.
Righto.
So here we go. Perkins,
DJ on the inside.
Dick takes the fast line, which is normally the slow line, but he'd made some time up. Larry monstering all over him.
Brocky behind him, having a bit of a lock up there.
Locked it up.
Tell you what, he'll have 11 or 14 flat spots by the end of the lap if he keeps that up.
Yeah, he'll be driving the car around with 50-cent pieces for wheels. So
well, that's probably how much he's got in the bank at the moment.
Yeah, someone took it all. Or it got moved, doesn't matter. So Dick tries to put a move on Farmer George. George is sideways. Was there a touch there or not?
There was a touch there, and I'll also note that Farmer George is on a harder compound rear than Glenn Seaton is.
So, and that's
a bit skittish.
On a tight, twisty track like Amaroo, you'd think you'd want every bit
Perkins
of grip you
again,
can.
and
Perkins
there he
gives
goes.
him a rub, and Farmer George is heading. Gobbled up nicely. Seen a lot of cars into that concrete wall over the journey at Amaroo. So
indeed, and there's Richo looking menacing.
And Richo's ready to gobble up Farmer George as well. I tell you what, George wishes he's driving the school bus the way that thing's handling at the moment.
I think he actually handles like a school. And there goes Richo.
And there goes Richo. So right about now, George has been hit by just about everyone except the pace car.
Was that a pointing finger or a middle finger? I couldn't tell there.
I'm not sure, but he's been hit by everything but the pace car, which is a pretty difficult task because there wasn't pace cars back then.
And the best part is, none of them were Gricey.
No, for a change. Gricey, everybody hit him. Oh no, hang on, here's Gricey's turn. Here's Gricey. Oh no. Channel 7 race, Dulux Auto Colour Channel 7 race cam from the Grice-mobile there.
Chickadee Valvoline.
Bob Jane T-Marts. Chickadee Valvoline,
Yokohama.
Bob Jane T-Marts, Roadways
of Tasmania.
We got the lot.
Yeah. Who says commercialism's a new thing? Anyway, you see the back of that Nissan's looking very taily there.
Anyhow, have a Winfield. Oh no, sorry, it's a Peter Jackson.
Don't smoke.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sound engineer.
Now, the amount of aero aids on the Nissan really shows there. If they get the thing loose, it's gone. That's it.
So right about now, we probably do need to remark about the lack of TV graphics. There is no ticker. We've got no idea what lap we're on, so we're just going to keep calling it.
We have no idea what's going on, but
let's say lap 5.
Probably, yeah. Well, I was about to say, we have no idea what's going on, but after 8 episodes, you should be used to it.
So I think the Alpha just actually passed somebody. Did you see that, or was my eyes deceiving me?
It's not a car; it's an Alfa Romeo.
Right. I think the Alpha passed the BMW.
Well, Finauer's dropping through the field at a great rate of knots. That's Tony Longhurst behind Andy Medecky.
Yep.
Who's a few months away from his giant killing efforts at Bathurst up against the European Sierras.
Yeah, absolutely. In this Oxo Super Cube Ford Sierra.
Got a bit of front end damage on it though. It's looking pretty second hand.
I think the Beamer would be a bit quicker now that it's got an M package.
I'm surprised he hasn't been anywhere near George Fury. How does he get that damage?
Where is Gricey in relation to him on the track?
We're not trying to cast aspersions here, but screw it, we're trying to cast aspersions. Tony Longhurst there working away behind Medecky. Behind him, the Alpha 75, which has got to be one of the most ridiculously unsuccessful factory efforts ever seen in Australian touring car racing.
Yeah, not one of Bondi's famous, not one of Bondi's finest moments, I'm sure.
All I know is he ran the Badinka dyno out, just trying to get the thing to last.
Ignis Fridges was the other. Was the GTV a bit later on?
GTV6 was beforehand. Which if we
we did roll through for that. Yep.
If we do an 85 or an 86 race, you'll see that yellow flyer in action. Very pretty car actually. as most Alphas are. The 75 is a bit of a box though.
Helicopter shot.
Speaking of
gone all out this round, Channel 7.
Speaking of boxes, the DR30 is a bit square, isn't it? But then again, it is a 7-year-old car by now.
Yeah, absolutely. So
is the R30 though.
That's
That is
there we go. Up Bitcher Pave Hill, round the kink, up the top.
getting kinky
Great,
at the top of the hill.
great. Actually, really, really good aerial view to show you just how tight and tricky Amaroo is. So, I tell you what, there's got to be a lot of value in cigarette money because this thing is an absolute rocket ship.
I think so, yeah. I mean, Gibbo wasn't renowned for having small budgets.
No.
This certainly threw some money at him back in the day. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I suppose the other thing is to notice that if Dick Johnson said that running a race at Winton's like running around your clothesline, does this make Amaroo like running around your tumble dry?
I tell you, it's certainly tighter than Winton. At least at Winton, you got a couple of straights to have a bit of. Oh, here we go. We've got a tick
race
come
score.
up.
Yep.
Glenn Seaton, car 15, running in P1. Dick Johnson second. I missed third. Fury, Brock in fourth. Richards in fifth. George Fury sixth, and I think I stuffed that up because I wasn't quick enough.
Correct.
Lap 11 of 70. There we go. Can you keep a lap score for us, Minion? That's 70.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get a pen and paper out.
Okay, he's going past the start line now. That's Richo.
That's Richo.
Working his way through up the field. He actually needs to be a lot closer to Seaton to keep the pressure on for the 87 championship race.
Although it is 70 laps, and there's no such thing as compulsory pit stops. So
There's also such things as minimum weight limits and ability to look after tyres, which the BMWs especially are supreme at.
yeah, they're very, very balanced little race car, weren't they?
When you've got 100 odd kilos on anybody else.
And speaking of, there he is, the great man Frank Gardner, looking as enthused as he always does.
It's basically a terry-tailing hat with a smirk.
Yep.
So there we go. Richo's going round the wake into the final corner, making up ground hand over fist. He's really got this thing dialed in. It was remarked many, many times by Richo himself of how similar his driving style was to Frank Gardner, who did a lot of the development driving for BMW. And he did run a much softer suspension package than they did in Europe. Gardner himself developed his own package for the bumpier circuits that predominate in Australia, especially back then.
Yep.
And you'd have to say, given the results of Bathurst that year, his technical difference was probably worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's it looks like it's going around corner on rails. It's just a beautifully balanced little race car.
And there's Farmer George. Tony Longhurst managed to get past somebody without hitting them, which was quite a feat in this era, because Longhurst was up there with Grice in terms of aggression.
Yeah, it was definitely a different era in terms of elbows out. Well and truly before DSOs and investigating and prosecuting officers.
And most of the members of the CJT were actually racing in other categories at this point.
Yeah, production cars and a lot lower categories.
Well, Scafie's in the Gazelle in 1987, and Crompo, I don't know what he was doing. I think he might have been limited to sports sedans or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Production cars, I think he was in a Starion at one stage. Mightn't be this early. All right, so looking at the back of Gricey's Bob Jane T-Mart's Channel 7 race cam.
And at Bob Jones, they'll save you.
Yeah, Bob Jane All-Rounders. So...
Looks like he's got the Alpha behind him.
Yeah, Alpha behind him. I was trying to work out who Alan Romason was, but it's actually Alfa Romeo. My eyesight.
Yeah,
I need to put my glasses on.
240p, ladies and gentlemen.
Perhaps they get 240. Perhaps I need a higher definition, or to be working on at a higher level.
Foxtel.
There's some Foxtel. That's
what it is.
That's a good advertisement.
We need some YouTube tell.
YouTube tell. Don't. They'll start.
No, of course they will.
I think part of the reason you didn't recognise the Alpha is because it's gone more than 10 laps without blowing up yet.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and nobody's run off from the oil that it's dropped.
Yeah. I mean, it is an Alpha, ladies and gentlemen. They're wonderful cars until they break down.
They're not cars, they're Alfa Romeos.
Oh, very good.
They're always
Very,
ready to
very
break
good.
Yes,
down.
okay, so if I buy an Alfa Romeo, can I register as an offshore oil rig?
Yeah.
That's deep. That's cryptic, man.
Only if you buy it in another country.
I tell you, Channel 7 are absolutely in love with this out the back shot of the thing. The camera needs to be a bit higher so you can actually see something other than T-Marts.
Yeah.
If Bob Jane's sitting at home loving every minute of this telecast.
Yeah, the back of the car's a bit of a spoiler.
Oh,
Get out.
please.
Dick Johnson.
Kill me now.
And now now everyone's regretting that Touringcast idea that we came up with.
Yeah,
so
no,
anyway,
it's all good. It's all good.
Dick Johnson, another one that's lasted more than 10 laps unusually, because he went through a lot of turbos in 87.
Yeah. Flag Marshal's frantically waving the blue tea towel. Dick locks a brake on the way into Honda corner.
He's given it a bit of curry there.
Is he ever? He's got a Nissan in front of him, and he's hell bent on chasing it down.
Now, to explain the difference between the 87 and 88 cars, aside from...
You're going all nerd.
We'll go a little bit nerd.
Go on.
Okay. Between 87 and 88, you've got the RS500 package, which gives you much bigger turbo, twice the size.
Right.
And you've also got a lot of refinements in terms of intercoolers and just basic engine power ability. So you've gone from, say, 500 horsepower if you're really spinning it up to about 600 reliably.
That's 20%.
That's an awful lot of power.
You'll actually feel that.
And the other part is that they weren't having to strain the turbo past its point of no return to actually get that horsepower.
So they weren't blowing them up every second race.
That's pretty much, every race virtually this year. T3 to T4 is about half the size, so that gives you an idea of what we're talking about.
That's a Garrett T3, T4 turbo.
That's a Garrett turbo, yes.
Yep.
But less lag.
No, more lag. Well, less lag on the T3,
Yeah.
if you want to go down that path.
I mean, less lag this year, more lag next year.
Is that? Hang on. Was that lag when you got called into the stewards' hearing?
Yeah.
Oh, the Alpha's in the pits. Bondi's getting out.
I'm really surprised
Yeah,
about
it's
that.
terminal.
You know what the worst part is?
And he's walking away, not happy at all.
The worst part is it's not an engine.
No?
He got hit by Ludwig Finauer and bent the suspension.
Damn. That'd be the first time an Alpha's ever retired in the history of Australian
Can't believe I can't see a
motorsport without
replay
an
about
engine failure.
Can't see a replay or a safety flag.
No replay.
No. You don't get one of those super slow motion, oh look, it's up on the curb.
No. It's just up on the curb. I tell you what, they're all grabbing tyres or grabbing brakes and locking tyres on these corners. They are absolutely trying the hardest at this.
Sandpaper track.
Yeah, fairly abrasive.
80 grit or 120?
Thank you very much.
I don't know. It depends on how much contact you've had.
Yeah.
I imagine that sort of if you're George Fury, you're probably a bit furious and working more on sort of the 30-40 area of the world.
So while we're looking at it, we're 30 years down the track from this round, and sadly,
Doesn't that make you feel old?
Oh, it makes me feel really old, considering I watched it when I was but a young lad. I was probably your age when I was watching this Sound Engineer.
It's a bit of a scary thought.
Amaroo Park on the northern suburbs of Sydney essentially got closed down and turned into a housing development, and
Sounds like Sandown.
Sounds like Australian Park.
Yeah, Australian Park. Not Sandown hasn't happened yet, but we know it pretty much will.
How long is it?
The track?
Yeah, the track.
Yeah, 1.9 kilometres.
That makes Wakefield look big.
Yeah, it's a lot shorter than Wakefield, shorter than the Winton Short track, shorter than Symonds Plains. So, as I was saying, it's digging into the archives has been a really interesting exercise. Here we go. There's a privateer back marker with his hand out the window, something that we don't see anymore. Oh, that's right, because we don't have privateers.
Or back markers.
We have back markers. Or we don't anymore.
No.
He retired.
Hey, Sexton.
Hi, Mrs. Wood.
Oh, he's retired. We're still giving it to him.
Oh, I tell you, we'll get some feedback about that one. Look,
we miss you already, Dale.
We miss you already, Dale. We're going to have to find a new wood duck for 2018.
You need someone.
Moff's gone too. Todd's gone. Who we got? Let's not talk about 2018. Let's keep talking about 1987. So
DJ's coming up the hill.
Absolutely chasing him up Bitchapave Hill for about the 20th time, I reckon, by about now. Nissan know-how. strategically placed billboard there, Warbster.
Very, very well done. As billboards go, that's probably one of the better ones.
Yep.
You got to look at it from the point of view of what space are you buying versus where it is on the track and where it is in relation to the cameras. So some of these are a lot like Stallion Stable, for example.
Stands out like a stallion. Oh, here we go. Glenn Seaton P1, Dick Johnson 2, Jim Richards in third place.
Larry Perkins,
Tony Longhurst, and 11 or 14 in sixth.
He's hanging on pretty well for
and we're on lap 24, so I wasn't too far wrong with that one. And again, they've the Channel 7 News helicopter. No, it's a blimp. It's a JP30's blimp.
Oh,
jeez!
Wow, the Channel 7 have gone all out on no expenses spared.
Really channeling Goodyear
for the very much Goodyear. It's 1987 was clearly a good year. So yeah, obviously the Channel 7 News chopper was busy that day, so they had to hire a blimp instead.
Well, they're probably chasing.
It's cheaper to run.
Well, they're probably chasing Alan Bond or Christopher Skase or one of those.
No, I don't think that. Tell you what, he's loose. Longhurst's loose as a goose in springtime.
That's actually Richo. That's number 3 car.
Well, that's a bit interesting. Richo getting loose.
Well, he is trying very, very hard.
He's trying to gobble up DJ right here.
Yep, so. And I could see this one ending badly.
Perhaps you've watched it already.
Bang! There it is. I actually forgot that he did that, but so he gave him a bit of a whack.
And bits and pieces here, and the BMW's got a hair lip.
And that's really, you don't want to be doing that. Do you know how much BMW spares are worth?
Not very much when someone else is paying the bills.
Now you want to know why Frank Gardner's frowning? That's why.
Yeah, Frank ain't... So, sorry, did you say this is Gentleman Jim Richards?
Well, yeah.
I'm actually loving this. You get whole laps of the same car. It's amazing.
Very, very different telecast to what we see, or what we're used to today.
So
as opposed to midfield battles.
So what you're saying is that Supercars media has the attention span of a squirrel with ADHD.
Yeah.
I'd largely go Stallion Stable. They got 2 signs. That's must have got some value out of that.
Yep. Stands out like a stallion.
Yeah, Richo
around
goes
the outside.
Around
Richo,
the outside.
Can he do it? Oh, carves him up. Absolutely takes it. And I reckon Dick's missed a gear there because he's had to brake late to avoid contact. There's no other reason that Jim would have jumped out as far as he has. Dick definitely wasn't holding him up. Well, maybe he was. Here we go.
I think what happened was Jim plucked it in the first and gave it some jandle.
And Dick went, hell yeah.
And Dick went, do I want to have an accident? No.
Who's paying your bills, Dick? Oh, that's right, you are.
Dick is. And if you know how much the turbo replacements are worth, he spent a lot of money this year.
Yes. So did Dick pay the bills? Dick did. All right, so Richo smashing it out there in his yellow Benson and Hedges race suit.
I think the answer to did Richo have a bit more pace? Yes, he did. Because just look how much he's taken out of DJ already.
Yep.
I reckon those rear Sierra tyres would have copped an absolute caning.
Mm-hmm. So Steve Masterton from Masterton Homes, another AMS car ARDC stalwart. Haven't seen Steve Masterton on any. Here we go. He's Bondi. Who's that? Who's that interviewing him?
Peter McKay.
My God. You need a haircut, Peter.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Bondi's smiling. Of course you're smiling. It's because someone else is paying the bills, and it's an Alpha.
Yep. Well,
and this Black Ran Enemy. Go on.
Well, yeah. Basically, the German bloke ran into me. It's a bit like 1944 all over again. Up the Fillets Gap, just trying to get away, trying to surrender like all Italians do, and
don't mention the war.
Anyway, enough 70s references. Let's get back to the 80s. Here's the Panzerwagen of Jim Richards.
This is fine.
So, quick question.
Yes.
Clearly, they did something to. Clearly, the Sierras became far more reliable between this year and the next.
Yes.
From going to a few cars in the field to more than half of them.
Yes, they did, and a lot of that was to do. A lot of that was to do with the homologation stuff that I was talking about before, and they did do a lot of work on transmissions as well. Dick Johnson actually got a 9-inch diff.
Is it true that Dick Johnson actually went through more turbos than an F1 car does in a year?
Which F1 car?
All of them.
And which year? Are
This
you
year.
talking about 1987 F1 cars?
No, I'm talking about now F1 cars.
Well, it depends. Are you talking about a Honda or everyone else?
Well, a Honda, because they use
Oh, Christ, no one goes through that many turbos. Jeez.
Not possible.
Yeah, Frank Gardner's looking happy there. He's just like, get this camera
So
off
we
me.
Terry Towling fedora.
We just Terry Towling, a very Terry Towling fedora. We just missed the Kalari car there, driven by none other than multiple Australian Speedway champion in sprint cars, Gary Rush, having a bit of a steer at in his hometown.
Yeah, and I think Brian Callahan's somewhere in here as well, another well-known Speedway star. There was a big movement of guys, especially in the old days, for actually driving both. Now, you couldn't have both licenses, but you could go backwards and forwards.
So there's Larry in the NZ car, and there's the
Gary
NZ,
Scott.
and there's the NZ driver right behind him.
Good line, but it's Tony Longhurst. That's number 4.
Quiet. I'm working on this, all right.
Is this back when there were only a few Kiwi
Oh,
drivers?
here we go. Typical Larry and Tony. That was just
Yeah.
always going to happen.
Yeah, Tony saw a half a gap and thought my car's smaller than yours. I'll fit through there.
Yeah.
Which in actual fact it did. And I can tell you right now, the Kawinji cow farmer tractor owner will not be very happy right about now.
See,
Here we
he
go.
looks pretty
Larry
happy there.
Perkins, Commodore, age 37. First
in
in
a lot of
Australian
things.
Formula Ford, driver to Europe Series, 1972. First in Australian Formula 2, Australian Rallycross champion, 3 Bathurst wins at this stage. Just,
And got a participation award for BRM for
just chugging around nicely. And
That's an Unzud New
that's
Zealand.
an Unzud car chugging lots of turbo smoke, and it's behind the wall.
That looks like
Normally
an
when you
FD.
see that much smoke out of a car these days, it's because it's doing burnout.
Especially in a
Especially
R31.
Gizzy.
Especially in an R31.
Either that, or if you're in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne.
Or the northern.
Or
Just anywhere, really.
at Drift Matsuri.
Yes, you pass the Duchy on the left-hand side. Anyway, Gricey's in front of the Sierra. Don't get used to it, Alan. It'll be a while. Looks like that is Greg Hansford behind him. I can just about see an 8.
Yeah, the late Greg Hansford.
Like Greg Hansford. Very, very good driver. Probably didn't get enough seat time to really become top of the pops, but very good for once-a-year driver at Bathurst.
And then went on to race with Larry after this, and was motorcycle world champion.
He wasn't a world champion, but he won 250 and 350 races.
Thank you. I knew he had a distinguished career overseas.
Actually, probably Kenny Roberts rated him as one of the fastest guys on a Formula 750 bike that he ever raced against.
And here's one for the boffins and for the history books. Trevor Ashby in the Ashby and Reed Lansdale Smash Repairs Commodore.
His first ATCC start.
Sensational. And they went right through to even Cameron McConville driving for them in the early 2000s. Yep.
2004, I think they gave up that wreck.
Yep.
It all got a bit too much for them in terms of the finance and everything, which Ashby and Reed was never a top buck operation as it was.
Was Lansdale Smash Repairs bigger or smaller than Peacock Paint and Panel?
You could start one there. There we go.
Who crashed more cars? So here we go. First round one AMSCAR Trevor Ashby had an AMSCAR first and AMSCAR fourth. Qualified 16th in the 1986 James Hardy 1000, and essentially, a bit of a touring car rookie.
Bit of a couple of times a year driver. Didn't really chase the series in full very often, but made the most of the money he did put into the sport.
Yep. And probably came out of club cars or road reg or whatever it was at that stage, which was absolutely massive in New South Wales.
Yeah, very, very much a Amaroo specialist, same as sort of your Terry Finnegans, even your Alan Grice's in the early days.
Yeah, Gricey used to live around the corner, effectively.
Yeah, Bondi used to live around the corner as well.
Yep. So
and then we go back to the spoiler obstructing the view.
See some more of the T-Mart's car rear spoiler, which is just going to absolutely cloud our vision for the rest of the telecast, but that's okay.
Now, there's one thing there's a bone I've been meaning to pick with you in public, DSO.
Here we go. Hang on,
we'll get to it after the race score.
Race score. So Glenn Seaton, Jim Richards,
DJ,
Tony Longhurst, Larry Perkins, George Furious George is back to 6th.
Lap 36,
We're
37.
just after halfway mark of the 70-lap race.
And there goes Gary Scott, letting the boss by.
I've just realised why my lap count keeps going off. It's because of the ads.
Good point, Minion. We're coming at you live and commercial free on YouTube today. Sorry, Wobster, you wanted to pick a bone with me publicly. This will be interesting. There's Gary Rush in the Kalari car.
There's Gary Rush in the
chased
Kalari
down
car.
by 11 or 14.
Bob Jane T-Muts and tyre places in general.
Yep.
They advertise, buy 3 tyres, get 1 free.
Yes.
Apart from Reliant Robin and Morgan owners, who are actually going to go for that?
No. You pay for 3, but they give you 4.
What about the spare?
You don't change the spare.
Do you change your spare every time?
I don't have a car.
Or the Warbster doesn't have a car?
Oh no, the Warbster has a limousine.
Exactly.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
My mistake.
I don't replace the tyres. The driver does.
Just get the bill.
Yes.
Okay, poor people, just deal with it.
Actually, can I get Donoso on the phone? He's an expert in Morgan 3-wheelers.
He's an expert in everything.
Hi, Michael.
Just ask him.
His family own a number of them.
Hi, Michael.
I don't know, Zo. Getting a shout out in every episode at the moment. I'll run out of friends soon. I'll have to start talking about my mates at Cam's.
You already have.
You haven't got any. All right, so back to the racing
Back
because
to-
it's
back to-
absolutely enthralling.
Back to the racing for once.
So we've got a
DJ and a Longhurst.
I was going to say we've got a Bavarian Motorworks special hunting down a European Ford special.
And but in front of them's a VK Commodore, possibly driven by someone who's a bit special in terms of skill.
Is it Terry Finnegan?
No, it's not.
No, it's not Terry Finnegan. I need to get a good close look to see who it might be.
It's 47.
It's the 47 car. Okay.
Hello, mysterious unknown Commodore driver, if you're listening.
So thanks for not having your name across the window banner because we give you a big shout out and tell everybody how good you are as a back marker.
Like we do with
Back marker?
Same difference.
What's a back marker?
Yes, it's okay.
Hi, Mrs. Wood.
Please, just let it go. Right? Do not make me play the Frozen theme song when we. And there's a big puff of smoke. Was that a turbo? Was that a turbo?
Yes,
cough?
that's a turbo.
And the hand goes out the window, ladies, and there's
there it
fire
is.
coming out of the car.
Wave
and we're going
goodbye.
to pull up really, really quickly and say goodnight, Dick.
If shooting fire, there's no one with a fire
I'm
extinguisher
sorry.
anywhere around
Can you
it.
please not say swear words? I've got to try and edit that out.
Yeah, for
No,
crying
it's-
out loud, you're not Greg Chappell.
Yeah, it's only got. We're going to block the pit lane with the car on fire, and we're reversing into pit lane. That's good. Nice work, Dick.
How many hours of penalties would he get for that these days?
Oh, I tell you, he wouldn't make it out of the steward's room. they'd actually they'd hang him, draw him, and quarter him. I'd reckon.
You'd nearly be right, yeah.
I didn't know Roland had access to swords these days. Did he get them after I left?
So here we go with a BMW chasing down one of
It's the 2 title protagonists.
Japan's finest. And there's a lovely purple, green and white VK looking spectacular, I must add.
So I'm a bit worried.
Some of these privateer paint jobs are just absolutely sensational. So Shell Ultra High octane performance in an unleaded petrol. That's not much has changed with Shell still throwing money hand over fist at the series there, Wobster.
Us throwing money hand over fist at DJ. As you can see, Glenn Staten's looking in his back mirror just going, oh Christ, he's already bent one. Well, he's not going to be afraid to lay another one in.
Yep.
And then I won't spoil it for you, but if you watch the Australian Park race, he's definitely not afraid to lay another one in.
No.
Because I believe that's what decided the series. We might get around to doing that race one day if nobody discourages us from doing these things.
Yeah, so all positive feedback to facebook.com/supercarinsiders. All negative feedback to warbster@supercarinsiders.com.au.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that doesn't exist.
It,
Sorry,
Don't
no.
tell them. It exists. So anyway, I'm a little worried.
Yes.
why are you a little worried?
So here's the thing: our audience, they're used to big loud commentators like Mayfi, And I don't think we have that passion for this motorsport.
Can you believe that braking? What a braking maneuver! Have you ever seen a braking maneuver like that before? That's Jim Keogh in the JPS 635 CSI.
Yep. Oh, they're nearly in the wall.
That's Armco.
It's technically still a wall, but now can you just calm down?
Oh my God! He turned the corner.
Okay.
All is well in Skyline Land.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. We've got DJ.
Dick's about to have a whinge.
Dick's
What's new? Dick's going, gee, look how young Dick looks.
Jesus.
Gee, look how old he looks these days.
Did he ever look young?
Chocolate bar?
What? A chocolate bar.
A few years before that, then.
So me turbocharger. Oh no, that's Barry. Hey, Dick, perhaps you need a sock on the inlet.
A sock? What would he want a sock for? Well, I guess it'd catch
You've been listening to the Honda forums, haven't you?
What would he want a sock for? To catch all the turbo paces. Anyway, yeah. Well, I'm a bit disappointed about all that because, stuff happened.
Okay. So I'd just like to say that if at any point in time our listeners out there would like to unmute the actual telecast that we're watching, you will hear that the commentators of the era are commentating not unlike we are. No raised voices. Oh, sorry, it's Mike Raymond, isn't it? Peter Griffin.
Pretty much. Well, no, I mean
Stallion stable corner.
It's less. It's different euphemisms and sort of repeated bits and pieces than now.
Yep.
It's different. He hasn't started his hate campaign against Nissan yet.
No.
Wait until 1991 for that.
But it's interesting in our research, Warbster, and having watched a few of these, it's reminded me again just how different motorsport is packaged these days compared to back then.
What are you saying, that this is motorsport still?
Well, this actually is motorsport.
Where's
it's not motortainment.
Where's the ticker?
There's no ticker. You just got to keep guessing.
Where's Greg Murphy in the pits mentioning
what
these
you're
New
telling
Zealandish
me is that
What about Chris Economaki? Oh no, he was only at Bathurst.
Yeah, he was only at Bathurst.
So are you trying to tell me that this was an event that existed for people to go and watch it at the track, not to be televised?
And the other thing is there's no compulsory pit stops. There's no safety cars.
There's no safety.
Well, safety is very different. We did touch on...
Well, hang on. Go look at the late corner, for example. No, just stop for a sec.
Yep.
Come up here to the late corner.
Yep.
Look at all this runoff.
Yep.
Look at all the runoff and the safety. Oh, look, they put one line of tyres up.
Yeah,
that'll solve... Oh, no, they haven't even got tyres up. It's just a wall.
It's just concrete wall against hard earth bank.
Yeah. I mean, no one's going to possibly damage themselves as a result of that.
I don't know. I love coming down the hill and exactly where you'll get spat out into a concrete wall.
Into Dunlop Bowl.
Hang on, I think
Dunlop Loop.
No, coming down here.
Yeah, Dunlop Loop.
Yeah, I think there's tyres down here, is it?
No,
it's just Armco. Okay.
There is
not even Armco. Just concrete.
There is later. I can remember watching a race from Amaroo where a Formula Ford pile up in the wet into that corner, and the fire marshal jumped down off the wall to go to the drivers, and about 6 more cars came ploughing down, nearly took the fire marshal out. Really good training back in the day for all the noob fire marshals as to what not to do.
So what we're saying what we're saying is good racing, but possibly to cost safety wise.
Well, it's interesting you say that about safety. When you look at the pit wall, everybody's standing leaning on a 4-deck Armco rail. Now, the first thing I was taught... first thing I was taught as an official was never ever lean on Armco, because if you hit it whips, the safety standards are much, much different 30 years down the track.
And positions are much unchanged apart from the fact that DJ is not there and Andrew Madecki is.
Andrew Madecki into... So lap 49 of 70, we've got 21 remaining, and that's a great shot showing just how tight Amaroo is.
Tiny little track.
Yep.
Well, look, there was a backyard there. Someone had to do something with it.
But very, very technical, and it's a real driver's track. You're working hard all the way around. They actually ran a 300k enduro around that track as part of the Old Australian Endurance Championship,
which I think was about 400 laps. But
Yeah, something.
There we go. Richo on the outside. He's gone around Glen Seaton in the skyline.
Maybe about 175, but that's still a hell of a lot of circumnavigations.
Richo takes the lead from Peter Jackson, whose tyres are probably more cooked and on ice than the boys on the mountain were earlier this year.
Cooked and on ice.
Yeah.
Was there ice back then?
Yep.
The only ice was in the esky, though.
Absolutely.
The only ice was in the esky. That's actually a throwback to, I believe, episode 3.
Yep.
The Bathurst review. Do download and have a listen if you're interested.
Absolutely. So Sound Minion, just for a point of reference, you're talking about ice in eskies. I can tell you back in the day there'd be they'd be drinking long necks of Reshes in the crowd. They would have been able to bring...
Not VB?
No, they're in Sydney. They'd be drinking Reshes or Tuis. They were allowed to bring it in back then, and
and then people got glassed when there was
different motorsport fans, and they say they can't get a crowd at Eastern Creek. I tell you right now, have a look at how packed this track is, and then look at Australian Park of the same era. You got a crowd there all the time. So this nonsense that Sydney motorsport fans are fickle, absolute crap.
Well, maybe they are now.
Maybe nobody likes Eastern Creek because it's built next to a tip and it stinks. I got that reference in.
Well done.
Every time.
We're trying to get the some of the same references in every single episode, and we are getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. So
we're getting there still. I mean, you did that with a race to spare. Well done.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well done. Yeah.
Now,
I think the next race is from nowhere near New South Wales.
Correct.
Now, one thing I do have to clarify.
Oh, here we go.
This Eastern Creek you keep talking...
Sato's gone.
Never mind.
Big lock up.
Sato's gone.
And the flag marshal sitting in the deck chair up on the earth bank didn't even flinch.
And of course they didn't, because normally these days they would throw a safety car the second he locked his brakes.
Yes.
Anyway.
But we're not due for an ad yet. Sorry, Sound Engineer Minion, did we cut you off?
This Eastern Creek you keep talking about.
Yes.
Is that what other people call SMP?
Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah.
Hang on, we've got one of the first replays of the telecast.
Slow motion replay.
I reckon that that skyline's drifting.
Yeah.
I reckon Seaton's...
Drifting offline, maybe.
Seaton's chances of winning are drifting as well.
I didn't know that they ran a summer Matsuri at Amaroo Park.
I'm pretty sure drifting wasn't quite in existence yet. I think that was a couple of years away yet.
And meanwhile, back at Stallion Stable Corner, there goes Jum.
Jum in a small rear-wheel drive car, which is actually perfect for drifting. And Tony Longhurst did a pretty good job of it earlier in the race.
Has anybody put an LS1 into an M3 BMW for a drift car?
I'm sure some idiot has.
How sick would that be?
No, not an M3.
It'd be fully sick.
It would be fully sick. Indeed.
I know I'm a JDM guy, but I'm partial to European cars as well. Please don't. Sakes. LS the world, ladies and gentlemen. No, don't LS the world. Please don't.
Don't LS in 86?
I think that's already been done.
Well, yeah, I know it has.
Already been done. So
there's probably a mini moke somewhere in the world with an LS1 in it.
So Warbster, you're a student of the history of the sport.
That's a nice way of saying nerd.
Would Frank Gardner have smiled at all yet?
He would have looked slightly less worried.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. Smile possibly after they've won.
Yeah, righto.
He wasn't the world's most demonstrative person in pit lane. They try and keep a calm, cool head around themselves. Race score update: 3-4-15.
So Richards, Longhurst, Seaton, Perkins, Fury, Madecki. Still, the top 6 hasn't changed since last time we told you.
So
brought to you by Digital Computers of the Future. Lap 57 of 70.
I'm pretty sure they're broke, but anyway. As I was saying, you're always trying to keep a calm, cool demeanour in the pit lane back then, because you were leading your troops. It's not like nowadays where you throw headsets.
Yeah, beautiful.
Throw headsets and do all that sort of stuff, or go push.
And there's no GPS or in-car radio.
Well, there is in-car radio.
In-car radio, and they still ran pit boards, but. You're right. You look at the team managers: Frank Gardner, Freddie Gibson, Harry Firth,
Howard
Marsden, Neil Burns when he was running Larry's gear for him.
George Shepherd.
We
haven't mentioned Wally Story, and he's been around forever.
Tip of my tongue. Yep, Wally Story still at Brad Jones Racing today.
Jeff Grech. a bit later on.
Yeah, let's not mention the Grinch. So, you're right. It was a very, very different persona. And I suppose the other difference is they weren't under the microscope in pit lane like they are now, because everything's made for TV and trying to get a response. And I think the Betty Clemenco story, where something went wrong at Erebus and they'd shove a camera in Betty's face because she just blurted out something off the top of her head, and
Because it was like reality TV.
She was entertaining.
she's not a train wreck, but they made her look like a train wreck, and really unfairly to given everything she's done in terms of her dedication to her team.
I'm not going to go completely media watch on this, but I think the thing back then was they weren't sticking a camera under your nose as the sky was falling in. They did give you a little bit of distance to sort of, for want of a better term, compose yourself.
Well, now here we go. The
Oxo Supercube.
Oxo Supercube car has got a bumper hanging off it. Are we going to see a mechanical black flag?
Would you say that the Oxo Supercube was
We
slightly...
did see a
That is
mechanical
illegal.
black flag. How was that for a call? Tell you what,
The Oxo Supercube's dissolving a bit here.
Oh, beautifully done, Webster. Tell you, with a call like that, I could get a job as a clerk, of course.
Or a
Maybe
DSO.
you do.
Or a DSO. Now,
Wait, you're already a DSO.
technically, what happens if it falls off between now and when it reaches the pits? Does the car still have to go into the pits?
Yeah, it does.
Well, if they've had controversy with this before, where bits have fallen off and then they've gone, oh, well, you don't have to come in now.
But we can't put it on the land. We don't have any way of... Race control don't have any way of telling the teams that the car doesn't have to come in. Let's see if he pits.
He's definitely going to come in.
Is
I
he?
mean, it hasn't come off.
Yeah, he's definitely going to come in. It hasn't come off, and he knows it's there.
Okay. So, yes, he's
It'll
in
be
the
2
pits.
seconds in the pits anyway.
Let's see what happens. They weren't very quick on the pit stops. The Super Medeki Motorsport
Not
wasn't.
exactly a pit stop though, is it?
Well, they're all volunteers. They're all
Here we go.
part-timers. Andy didn't have a lot of money.
Told you.
And boom, there goes the transmission. Yep, diff's
Yep.
gone.
Just blew it. just shattered diff when he tried to take off. Dropped the clutch, tried to take off.
It's not a drag race. Don't try to launch it that hard.
So who's the guy with the red hair and the beard? Looks familiar. Don't know.
John Smith?
Not sure.
Okay.
Meanwhile, back at the front.
Meanwhile, back at the front in the fashionably tasteful yellow driving suit.
Yes. Is that a Benson and Hedges driving suit in a JPS car? So we've got Jim, Tony,
Longhurst, Satan,
Glenn,
Fury.
George, Larry, and Pierre.
Yes, he's been promoted since Andy Madecki decided to blow up his diff. Well, he didn't decide to blow it up. He just did.
We're on lap 64 of 70. We've got 6 laps of this enthralling telecast race from Amaroo Park remaining. I'm going to go out on a limb here, Warbster.
You think BMW's got it?
I think it's a BMW black wash.
I
Black
suspect
wash,
so.
hey? That sounds like the kind of newfangled term that Mayfield would come up with.
Actually, it sounds a bit racist if you ask me.
Well, the cars are black.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
we can't say black. Black's politically incorrect.
Okay, African American wash.
Righto. So Peter McKay is sticking his head under the bonnet of the Oxo Andromedeki Supercube Sierra,
Yeah,
pointing at something particularly broken.
But there's nothing broken under there.
No.
But he can't sort of point under the car. The lighting would be a bit of a disaster, and
And he'd mess up his beautiful suit.
And the other,
And his hair.
The other major difference 30 years down the track is there is no way the TV camera would get under the bonnet of a supercar these days.
There's also no way that Peter McKay would be given a gig anymore because he's not attractive female or a former driver.
It's a controversial.
Is that why Rusty's gone?
He was a bit of a silver fox, the old Rusty.
Hey, been around a long time.
He's got
I'm
his
going to miss
appeal.
him. Look, good value, the old Rust Meister.
Yeah, I'm going to miss him too. I mean, as I said, apart from Russell Ingle, he's one of the few bearable members of the broadcast team.
Yep. I think Crompton would be better without Scaife, but that says a lot of things, doesn't it, really?
I think anyone
Everyone
would be
would
better
be
without Scaife.
So is Trevor Ashby going to yield to the BMW, or is he just going to do a John Bowe and make the car 14 car widths wide?
Well, he's not racing for position, so he's not allowed to.
He can do whatever he wants. It's his own track.
I'm pretty sure
No, he gave it.
BMW owns
Tell
the
you
track.
what,
Oh,
I tell you
Richo's
right
not
now,
happy.
Richo, the hand goes out the window. That's not very gentlemanly there, Jim.
Longhurst gave him a bit of a. You're moving over now as well.
So
Yeah,
to the younger
absolutely.
viewers,
Yes, to the younger viewers.
explain to them what a hand out the window means in true racing.
Well, there's a number of reasons you put a hand out the window. You can gesture frantically in anger. You can put your hand out the window to signal for somebody to pass you on a particular side, or as is the case in open wheelers, in the event that you're slowing for any reason, because they don't have brake lights, open wheel cars don't have brake lights, you would raise your hand as a signal to the driver behind you that you are slowing.
So it's basically, I'm going into the pits, get the fuck out of my way, or I'm going to get out the fuck out of your way.
I'll just bleep those F's out.
Thank you.
Well, sound engineer, you might have a run at it this time.
I might.
Yeah, if you've got some free time. All right, I reckon we're on about the penultimate lap.
I think we're getting there. I think it's pretty
If we're not on the
obvious what's
penultimate
gonna
lap, I
happen.
got a chance to say it anyway.
It's the last lap at 1. Frank Gardner's...
Frank Gardner's just absolutely bristling with emotion right there.
I think he blinked. He's blinking.
He's blinking.
Oh,
He spoke.
hang on. He spoke.
Hang on.
No.
He said, "Get that fucking camera out of my pit lane."
I need one of those terry-telling trilbies.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
How much of a hipster do you need to be?
I'm not a hipster.
You would be mass hipster down Sydney Road wearing a terry toweling hat punched up like a trilby, aka Frank Gardner style. You'd be rocking the Sydney Road street party like you would not believe.
Yeah. That just reeks of irony. All you need is one of those like lumberjacks. Oh, Fred Gibson.
See, there's Fred.
There's Fred.
Looking
Is there a smile?
pensive.
Looking
Fred.
worried. Looking
Happy?
like he wants the camera
No,
out of that way.
he's looking happy. That's happy.
He's actually
I know the camera's in my face, but I'm not going to show. I'm not going to show that I know.
he's actually looking around, just going, I wonder who's going to have a whack at one of those pit girls later.
Certainly not him. His good lady wife Christine would be around to make sure it didn't happen.
And I reckon Christine would be able to kick head a bit.
Oh, and we've just had
Lost
a crash.
Ashby and Reed.
And Reed backed it in. The big yellow flag being frantically waved.
I hope they know
Marshals are waving everybody to slow down. Nothing's changed in 30 years.
No one gives a shit about it.
Frantically waved yellow flag and nobody slowed down.
That's because it looks too much like a Canary VL.
I think the issue with that is you know what, Trevor Ashby, I wonder if he knows a good smash repair joint that could help him.
Peacock Paddle in Horbury.
I thought we were getting a new one. Hi guys.
Hi boys and girls at Peacock.
Still haven't got in contact.
No. Clearly you don't listen to the podcast.
Yeah, we need a pod sponsor.
Like the 22 million other Australians.
I think we should concentrate on the race because it's about to end.
241 million.
Hang on. Can't be wrong. They've moved the Ashby car. We're on the last lap. We were on the penultimate lap when I said it earlier.
The penultimate last lap but 1.
Yes. So as he makes his way up Bitchapave Hill for the last time,
There's Ashby.
and there's Ashby. We're not showing the leader on his last lap. We're going to show the replay of the crash.
Not much has changed in the last
Nothing
years, has it?
That is very challenging.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's
He backed it in
changed much at
beautifully.
all.
You had a bit much rear bias on there.
Yeah, well, drifting at Amaroo.
Not the type of drifting you'd want. But anyway.
So we're going to head round Honda Corner. We're aiming for a form finish here. 1-2 for the JPS BMW M1 team.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Richards,
Tony Longhurst, and Ludwig Fenauer, probably 10th or something.
Did you say M1?
M3.
Maybe even M3s.
No, I thought I said M3.
No, he said M1.
Oh, well, that's
trust me, if they were racing, you wouldn't see which way they went.
That's the highway. And the arm out the window. Big win for Jimmy.
Frank, is he smiling?
No.
There was a bit of a
he was clapping.
The young Shane Van Gisbergen lookalike standing behind him had a smile on his face.
Well, they did have a lot of mechanics in New Zealand. There was a bit of one, yeah. Okay.
So there's Richo shaking hands, waving.
G'day, Sato. I'll see you in Australian Park, mate.
Yeah,
First corner, bang.
So Richo, Longhurst, Seaton for your podium.
And let's see.
4th position was Furious George, Larry and a Commodore, Ludwig Fenauer in 6th.
That's not
Can't
bad.
believe it.
I can.
3 BMWs in the top 6.
Just goes to show home track advantage.
What happened to 11 or 14? Got passport Ludwig Finauer, obviously.
Clearly. I don't know, maybe his tyres got a bit lower, though. He probably was running them at 22 PSI.
His polarizer must not have been working properly.
Here we go, Motorsport
So here
Diary.
we go, the Channel 7 Motorsport Diary. What's in the
what have we
Motorsport Diary?
Oh, look,
There's a pig.
It's Clive Palmer.
Okay. And that, ladies and gentlemen, looks to me like
Oran Park.
Oran Park.
And that looks like DJ actually passing somebody with that.
Get on down to Oran Park this weekend.
No, we already did that at the start. Formula Fords.
Formula Fords, look at them go.
I think isn't one of them Dan Holland's car?
Dan, if you're listening, I think your historic car's out there on the grid
Was
at Oran Park.
was that what I thought it was?
What's that?
A Toyota Supra.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's we've got some windmills and Assen looking things.
Yep.
I assume this is a reference to Wayne Gardner at some
think it
point,
is.
considering it's 87.
Yep,
Yep, there he is.
There he is, world champion.
World champion.
BF Goodrich sponsored off-road buggy.
No.
Some big fat bloke doing weightlifting.
I think he's Russian.
Hold it, son. Hold it. Hold it.
Gotta love that facial hair.
Oh,
No.
face plant.
Face plant.
And we're back at Amaroo from the JPS 30s blimp.
And there's Quagmire himself back
There's
again.
Quagmire himself. There's
Jimmy
Jim
Richards.
in his
Love his red
tasteful,
suit.
yellow. Oh, and there's the man from Shell.
Oh, I hope the sash matches. Does the sash match, Jim?
No, Jim, it doesn't. You need more red on your race suit.
That's a bit much.
That's a beautiful pullover you're wearing.
That's the bloke from Better
ARDC?
Brakes, I think.
No?
Better Brakes.
Better brakes?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Tell you what,
But-
Shit, then
they could buy him a nice corporate shirt or something. Look how young Jim looks. Perhaps because he's 30 years younger than he is today.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's gonna. Yep, I'm gonna have a javelin in about 30 years.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna sit here and listen to you, Wilco. I'm just gonna look around awkwardly.
Yeah.
Lick my lips a bit.
Like nod my head at the next inane question you're asking.
And
me.
well, I was quite happy to get past Dick Johnson. I didn't mean to ram him up the rear, but
Yeah.
I'm just getting him prepared. I mean, I rocked it. I really rocked it.
Yeah, absolutely. I smoked Andy Remy, I smoked you all. This was my race.
JPS smoke even.
And
So how do you feel, Jim, about winning the race? Oh, pretty good.
yeah. This young bloke over your left shoulder, and with the long hair.
He looks like the kid from Hey Dad.
Just looks like a lout. Have a look at him. Get back in shot, Longhurst. Brad and Kim Jones say hi, Tony, by the way.
Just get back in. Look,
Get
you've
back
got
in
sponsor
shots.
logos.
Get back in
Sponsor
shots. What are you
logos,
doing?
for goodness sake. Crying out loud.
Look at the blonde doofus in the background.
He looks like the bloke from Hey Dad.
Is that the shell? Is that Nudge?
I was thinking...
Is that Nudge with blonde tips?
quite possible?
I tell you, oh man, that chick, look at him. Oh, that makeup's dreadful. Sweetheart, you could have gone better lipstick than that.
You look like you've got something growing out the side of your bottom lip.
Oh, that is really bad.
Hang on, Tony, pay attention. Tony.
No worries. Tony. Put the green can down. Oh no, it'll be Diet Coke. Oh no, not yet. So there we go.
Might be some Castrol GTX 2 or something. I don't know.
So there we have it. We're watching Wilco nod his head a lot and blink, and he's nodding his head a little bit more.
And I'm talking. Yep.
And we're going to cut to an ad shortly.
Alright.
It's part one of our podcast, our Touringcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you back after the ad break for another race.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
So we need to go safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags.
Tonight on Grand Designs Australia, we feature somebody who sounds like Roland Dane of Supercars Royalty.
So, Roland, what brought you to Australia?
Well, I was looking for a bit of an opportunity, and I was involved with the racing cars back home.
Why Australia? Why not the bigger scenes in America or the other parts of Europe?
It's all about total domination and overheads, overheads. You know, I was a bit as your father, and I thought I'll just mosey on down under.
Why do you think Jamie Wincup's the best?
I never said he was the best. I mean, the kid can drive. If I was doing a bank job, I'd have Van Gisbergen any day of the week. Right? Van Gisbergen, he's hardcore.
What do you say to fans who don't like you?
Fuck off. This shows about Grand Designs Australia. I'm the one with Grand Designs on Supercars, not them. I've got the runs on the board.
What did you think when Craig Lance hit the wall at Newcastle?
I thought that dirty fucker run him out the road.
Who is the most influential person in Australian motor racing?
Do you mean before me or after I got here and started dominating supercar racing? What are you laughing at?
Roland Dane, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much. Welcome back to the second part of the second episode of the Touringcast, and Grand Design Australia. That's going to be an interesting episode, Warbster.
Is Kevin McLeod related to Peter McLeod?
Only by name. Only by name.
That was a John Crook association, that one.
That was pretty crook. Those of you playing at home, we are going to have a little bit of a change. If you want to go to YouTube and type in 1983 sports/GT AGP support. That's right, the Australian Grand Prix at Calder, where when you've got it loaded up, get ready, and we'll tell you when to play. We'll tell you when to hit play. So, a bit of background, Warbster. Interesting for a lot of reasons. I get to nerd out over old sports sedans.
Indeed you do, you nerd you.
Thank you.
You nerd. The time machine's taking us back to 1983, and it's Calder Park on the 13th of November for the Sports GT Challenge at the Australian Grand Prix. Now, this is pre-World Championship status, I might add.
So, yeah, this is before the Australian Grand Prix went to Adelaide. It was back when the great little man Bob James spent buckets and buckets of money getting some of the world's leading drivers to come out and race what essentially was Formula Mondiale.
Yeah, the 1.6 Atlantic and Pacific are much related.
Yep.
Yes, this was when the Australian Grand Prix was a national Grand Prix. Also, Calder Park was the home to the last home victory in an Australian Grand Prix when Alan Jones won the race in 1980.
I was going to say, long time between drinks.
Danny Rick, please.
Alrighty, so Sports GT Grid. It's a bit of an indication of where things were at their peak. The takeover of touring cars was almost complete, but in the 70s and it tailed out through into the early 80s as well, sports sedans were far more popular, and Formula 5000 prior to that were very well supported as well.
Speaking of Calder, I can remember in the mid-70s the Sports Sedan Series was sponsored by Marlboro and was worth $100,000. And that was some big bickies back in...
That's a big heap of cash back in the day.
And obviously the money goes where the people are, so...
Yeah, well, when you're giving the world lung cancer, it's pretty easy to cough up a few coin.
And those of you who are watching along at home, if you want to press play now. There's the name of the uploader.
Thank you, uploader.
Thank you, uploader. And
you've given us tons of content.
The front straight of Calder Park.
My God, it looks different.
Look how wide it is.
I've never seen sports, but with a 7.
7 Sport. You're not old enough to remember 7 Sport.
And this is
That's before.
This is the Stafford Sport Challenge. Sorry, Minion. 15 laps. Heat 2 of sports sedans and sports cars.
And look at how many people are at Calder. My goodness.
So there we have the 935 Crema K4 Alan Jones car.
Is that an LM car?
No, that's the Kadisha we were talking about. The WE84 Cosworth Bapramano's re-engineered Kadisha car.
There's 11 or 14.
11 or 14 driving
a non-05 car.
Yeah, driving Janie's Monza, rebuilt after the massive crash at Adelaide only 3 months earlier.
Which has actually had more famous bums in it than a rehab centre.
Absolutely. The Moby Dick 935-78 Gianpiero Moretti slash Momo car.
Momo car. Moretti is actually the man who started Momo.
Yep.
Stands for Moretti Monza.
Tony Edmondson in the Alfetta Chev. Car still exists, and no, it's not one of the Ricciardello cars.
Bavarian Murder Weapon, another 3 Series, but slightly more serious. This time the 318i Turbo.
Yep, American IMSA-built car with Jim Richards behind the wheel.
Successfully won several Australian GT races, and now the car's back in America.
Here we go. We talked about the John Sands colours a little earlier in the touring car, or in the other episode of the touring car cast. There in the number 3's Rusty French in a Porsche 93577 series.
About 15 years away from owning a piece of PRA.
Absolutely. So we just skipped past the John Briggs BMW, and there we have the Mercedes Chev Turbo of Brian Thompson. Car subsequently driven by Brad Jones. Helped Thompson win the 85 GT Championship.
We've got 30 seconds.
30-second boards up. You've also got Bob Jolly, the Electrolux and Flymo man at the back of the grid, and they're off on their warm-up.
And for rounding out the field is Ray Hanger in the Renmax, which will win the Sports Car Championship in a couple of years. And Rusty French is off already.
Yep. Not good. So, and there are other competitors. Ray Hanger, John Lusty, one of the Lusty brothers from New South Wales. Tony Hubbard, long-time competitor in Victoria. And John Goulet at the back of the field, current owner of the Auto Union Audi that Jack Perkins is driving in sports sedans.
You should be nerding up like crazy on this one, DSO.
I'm loving it. It's I reckon I might have almost been at this event, but I'm not sure.
And looks like Rusty French is looking at the back of the car. That's probably done a water jacket.
Yep. And walks away in disgust.
Totally missed that.
Yeah, not very happy.
John Lusty, just to clean this up, is in the ex-Lingauen's Celica, which was built by the people behind Elfin, and Tony Hubbard in the Falcon XC is the ex-Richo car.
The old ex-Big M Falcon.
The ex-Big M Falcon, Bob Jane car.
There we go. So isn't that Khadija, it's a WE84 Cosworth with Wayne Eckersley, but it's essentially a Khadija. Isn't it just a handsome-looking car?
Yes, I mean, I miss having sort of the variety of shapes in the cars as well. If there's anything the Touringcast has taught me, is that its variety is the spice of life in that respect.
So there you go, Minion. You've been a grid marshal, 4 wide across the front at Calder.
That is terrifying.
Absolutely, it's such a massive
Especially
track.
with that much horsepower.
Well, 850 reputed in the John Fitzpatrick Racing K4.
Lights are on. Calder, one of the first tracks to run lights, not a flag, and the green light goes on, and the Khadija absolutely bolts to the front, except for over the bumps, and there goes Fitzy.
And there goes Alan Jones, about an extra 500 horsepower, tells the story there, and it was always going to be good off the line with the rear traction, of course. And that thing is absolutely flying. What a piece of kit that is.
Now, those of you with a keen eye will notice we're on the short track at Calder Park, which is probably even shorter than the short track at Amaroo.
No one's been alive long enough to remember the long or short track at Calder Park.
Oh, yeah. I have. I spectated the Minion.
I vaguely remember
I spectated the short track.
There's the Emerson Alpha.
Edmo's around.
You can tell it's if it was a Ricky Adela car, it'd still be winning.
Yep.
There's the Porsche in the background, which
is the Porsche chase car.
And AJ's just sprinting out front. Jay David, you reckon that probably sounds like one of them dodgy Miami drug dealers from the 80s, doesn't it? You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yep. So there's the Khadija really squirrely under brakes over those bumps.
You have to say the Porsches are a lot softer sprung because of the Le Mans demands. And there's the Celica going off, and here's the Khadija again. Probably didn't get to its full potential as a race car in even Australian sports car racing. Did win a Australian Sports Car Championship back when there was such a thing, but only one.
Doesn't it look quick though?
Oh, it looks fast standing still. It's one of those typical, that Group C sports car look, and they're just spectacular.
Very, very much in the mould of the Group C2 car, or Group C Junior, if you like, from back in the day.
Yep.
Now, Jay Davis sounds like a drug dealer, doesn't it?
Yes.
Nope. No, it was a Ponzi scheme run by an American investment banker in San Diego.
Right.
Went to jail for 10 years.
Okay. Look at the ASS on the back of that Porsche. Doesn't it look spectacularly ugly?
Very effective at Le Mans, but this ain't Le Mans.
No, I was going to say it's. I think the pit road at Le Mans is longer than the front straight at Calder.
It's very interesting to see the contrast between the 3935, same basic car.
There's a HQ Monaro up on the mound. I own a Volkswagen Combi. Sorry, just doing a bit of car spotting there, ladies and gentlemen. Back in the day where you could drive your car to the track edge and sit in your car and watch it.
Basically, you're looking at the spectator cars and I'm looking at the billboards.
Yes.
That's basically how it ends up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look how soft that suspension is on the 935. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And 11 or 14's really hammering away in that Monza. It was a very, very fast car in its day and
very much a who's who who actually went through that car at various times. I mean, you had Brock in it, you've had DJ in it, you had Grice in it. I believe John Bowe had a steer at one point.
Yep.
And if you're talking about Monzas in general, you can add Alan Moffat to that list, who brought the first Monza out.
Yep.
And a man by the name of Graham Whincup.
Yeah, Graham Whincup, very, very successful. Yeah, J-Dud's uncle, very, very successful in sports sedans in his other Monza. Ran under the Qantas, nice bright red with white flying kangaroo with some Qantas sponsorship for a long time. I'm nerding out again, aren't I?
Nerd.
Oh, I love sports sedans, I really do.
And this is not really a sports sedan, it's more of a mutant. You know what we were saying about turbo lag before with the Sierras?
Yep.
In the first episode, this thing redefines turbo lag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Built in the late 70s with all of the compromises, and good God, you would not want to crash that car.
No way. And have a look as they come ripping down into the very, very short turn one at Calder, which essentially rounds you back out to where the track joins again now with the track extension. No, not down the hill and not back up over Mount Jane.
Mount Jane doesn't exist because Thunderdome's another 4 years away.
Correct.
There's 2 BMWs. That's the Briggs car in front.
Yep.
John Briggs, that's a familiar name to anyone with an eye on the recent past in supercars.
Yeah, absolutely. Supercar team owner.
Cat Racing, which subsequently became Triple
Eight.
Yes.
Correct.
Nerd. Alan Jones up the front, and just look at the way he's manhandling that thing.
So after 5 laps, we've got Jonesy, Bapramano, Moretti, 11 or 14, Briggs, and Brian Thompson.
You can tell who the foreign types are by the way they're misspelling the names.
11 or 14.
No, number 7 in this race.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, AJ pretty much buggering off out front, which when you got 850 horsepower, you're going to get that. And AJ was only 3 years removed from his world championship.
Yes, 1980 world champion. So interestingly, that the Monza was run by here we go,
Bob Jolly in the Tirana.
Mr. Flymo, Mr. Electrolux. Bob's been a strong competitor for a lot of years in Victorian sports sedans. Ran a couple of very, very handsome and very fast Commodores back in the early mid-90s. Monzas. The Bob Jane Monza ended up running at the World Endurance Round at Sandown
in '84.
In '84, the next year, with a couple of 3 interesting drivers.
Yes, well, we had DJ and Grice, as I mentioned before.
Yep, Dick and Gricey. And Dick thought that the car had more horsepower that it could handle, and Gricey reckons his grandmother it was that easy to drive. His grandmother could make it go fast.
Well, Gricey's grandmother might be a really good driver. Who knows? Anywho, yeah. I mean, the World Sports Car Round in 1984 at Sandown on the wiggly track that nobody liked, and the crowd went wild, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
You think the Middle Eastern rounds that supercars did were under-supported? They had nothing on the Sandown World Championship rounds.
I reckon there are more people going to see supercar round at Eastern Creek than went to the World Endurance Round at Sandown.
By the tip where it smells. There, I did it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's Jimmy.
There's Jimmy. Yet again proving he can drive just about anything with 4 wheels.
Sometimes even 2.
Well, no, it was actually 3 because the front was stoved in. I assume you're talking about 92 again.
Yes.
Here we go. Past the Lusty brothers in the Celica, which have managed not to hit anything yet. The Lusties. And there's Hubbard in the Jim Richards' old
in Jimmy's Falcon. And who's he hit?
Ray Hanger in the Renmax.
Ray Hanger in a Renmax. Donoso, if you're out there, don't cry. We know there's a Renmax in your shed.
Hi, Michael again. That's a very interesting paint scheme on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's,
I think you get that one lost in the car park.
yeah, no, Footscray Footy Club.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, something. The poor old Renmex is looking a bit second-hand as it wanders its way up the back straight. And
there's the K4 just going through again. Just absolute warp speed. That thing's got some straight line.
so, hang on, debris. Does that mean that there'll be a safety car?
No.
Here we go. 7 Sport replay.
Of smoke.
Smoke, dust.
Slow motion replay.
Someone's already hit someone, and yet again the TV cameras have missed it.
Nothing's changed.
Well, they had 3 of them, so what do you expect?
So what was this? 15 laps. We'd have to be on the penultimate lap,
Looks
or
like
the penultimate. No, I'll let it go.
that's about as repetitive as Stacey's commentary.
Yeah.
And there they are going into the pits, and
Yeah.
wow, there's a bit of a size difference there.
So
Looks like the Falcon's about to eat the Renmax, if anything.
I was going to say, do we get to see the fisticuffs, or do they cut away at the last minute?
This isn't NASCAR, okay?
Hate the Thunderdome got built next door.
Yeah, true. Y'all.
So, y'all. So,
Hi,
there's-
Davey Reynolds.
So there's AJ just trucking on out, and
Speaking of trucking, you've got the Thompson car in front of it, sponsored by Kenworth.
yes, absolutely. And I've actually driven past the shed that car was constructed in out of Shepparton a little bit. Built typical of Australian sports sedans, built in the back shed by a bloke with a welder and a pipe bender.
Was it at least the same length both sides?
It's a very, very wide looking car. Let's see how wide it is. Now Jonesy's trying to pass it.
I don't think it matters. I think he's
Not on
just
that
going to go
front
straight
straight.
past him.
It could have been a B double sideways and Jonesy still would have gone underneath it.
Yes. He's gone, this is Las Vegas and you are Carlos Reutemann.
Checking out.
See you later. Tell you what, he's checking out about as fast as Jay David with all the investors' money.
How did he get involved in that?
It was John Fitzpatrick racing.
Right.
And John Fitzpatrick got a load of money off a sponsor and he thought, yay, all my boats have come in, and didn't realise where the money was coming from.
Right.
So the year after all that went under, he was back in Europe with the Porsches, which eventually ended up being sponsored by Skull Bandit, and in '84 was one of the team managers behind Team Australia.
There you go.
Which was sponsored by Bob Jane.
Bloke made a lot of money out of tyres.
And speaking of Crema products, in that same race, one of the Crema cars was driven by Vern Schuppen, Jean-Pierre Jarrier, and Alan Jones.
So
Did somebody say nerd?
So yeah, nerd. So Hubbard's back out with half the front chopped away, and Jonesy's just put another lap on him, and there's the ex-Gowan's Salika.
He's got a bit.
No, Tony's out in the boondocks again.
And there's a check flag.
And there's a checkered flag waved by a bloke in a t-shirt and standing on the side of the track. That's professionalism plus. At least at the Adelaide Grand Prix, they wore a suit jacket.
Yeah, well, he wore a suit jacket and he had 2 flags. Just in case he dropped the first one.
Yep.
There we go, Alan Jones.
So here we go, Alan Jones.
Romano.
Pap Romano, 11 or 14.
I think that Romano's spelled with an O.
It is. It's Romano, not Raymano.
He's the father of Paul Romano.
Paul Romano, ex-Supercars driver. So there's a nice shot of the infield of Calder and the big power lines.
Irony of irony, Paul Romano drove for
John Briggs.
Alan Jones as well.
Yes.
Back in the pack loser days, now we've got a tent here.
Yep, we've got a tent. So here we go, final positions with your great graphics. Jones, Romano, Brock, and there goes a car with a trailer, modern day, early day tilt tray. Moretti,
Rich DS.
Rich DS, that'd be a Richards.
And Edmondson.
You would have, if you'd taken the apostrophe out, you would have spelt it.
Look, it's Gary Wilkinson again.
It's Wilco again. Hello, there's girls in singlets. They're nowhere near as tastefully attired as... And there's Bob. Look at Bob. Bob and girls in singlets.
AJ looks like he's been keeping up his fitness regime there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He never was a small bloke, was he?
You'd really fit back in that Williams in that condition, AJ. Oh, yeah, look, see, life's pretty sad when you got Wilco trying to dress you, AJ. This is just... It's terrible.
And, well, in 20 years, I'm going to be doing commentary for Formula 1 races with Big Darrell. We miss Big Darrell.
We miss Big Darrell. He's noticed that the badge... Southern Cross Motors, Bob Jane's Jane's Southern Motors.
There's the Porsche. There's AJ's having a bit of a tear about the fact that he misses Darrell Eastlake so much.
Yep.
As we all do.
Yep. So here's some bloke who I don't know who it is.
Probably some
There's a trophy, there's a champagne.
Yep. He's trying to handshake. Why do they give them the trophies and the champagne and fill their hands and then handshake?
Because they can't be bothered holding it while they handshake.
Must be tradition.
Yeah, I don't know.
And here's Bob with the... No. There's
Some
Bob
other
in the
dude.
background. You can tell him with the sunnies on.
Yep. And his current wife's in high school.
It's a VHS player.
No, it's not. It's a Sega.
No, it's a Sega. Oh my god.
Wow, 8-bit and everything. High technology back in the day.
Absolutely. Can that podium girl smile a bit? Sweetheart, you're on TV. You need to smile a bit.
I wonder if she's related to Frank Gardner.
Or George Fury?
Or Fred Gibson.
Yep.
Hang on, Will goes in front. He's doing the whole, wrap up.
Yep. He's got his little notepad. He's closed his notepad.
Yep. Oh, they're
We're
smiling
handing
now.
over.
They're smiling. Yep.
Yep. So John Sands congratulates the winners, Calder Park.
And still haven't showed me the champagne.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's all over.
And that's it for this edition of the Touringcast. I didn't say Warpstercast for once.
You've done well.
We'll be back with probably the Sandown preview. We haven't decided what we're doing yet, but we'll
Sandown
certainly...
preview? Don't you mean the Dubbo Hill Climb preview?
The Dubbo Hill Climb preview, I mean. I'm going back to episode 1 here.
The greatest race.
The greatest race.
The greater race.
The greater race.
But it's greater than the greater race. It's the greatest race.
Oh, we're not doing this argument again. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's us. Thanks for listening. Feedback always welcome. Go to the Facebook page and take care of yourselves. Bye.
Cheers.
This has been a Supercar Insiders production. Please go to www.facebook.com/supercarinsiders for more of this sort of thing.